Iran just said something that reverses the entire narrative of who is winning this war. Not a threat, not a boast, a statement of fact. America will determine when this war ends. My name is Professor Jiang. I study geopolitics and predictive military analysis, and what I am about to show you is not speculation. It is the analytical breakdown of a diplomatic and strategic shift that changes the trajectory of this entire conflict. Because when an adversary acknowledges your agency in determining the outcome, it is not surrender, it is a recalculation, and recalculation is where wars are won or lost. Stay with me, because the number I give you at the 8-minute mark of this video is the most important data point about Iranian strategic thinking that has entered the public domain since this war began. Do not leave before you hear it. Let me show you what the IRG actually said and why it reverses the narrative of who is winning. Here is what we know. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a statement today through its official media channels. The statement was not a threat. It was not a boast. It was a strategic assessment. The key passage, the duration and conclusion of the current conflict will be determined by the actions and decisions of the United States government. Iran has demonstrated its capacity to defend its sovereignty and to impose costs on aggression. The choice to escalate or de-escalate now rests with Washington. That is not the language of a regime that believes it is winning. That is the language of a regime that believes it has achieved its minimum objectives and is now offering the adversary a choice. Now here is the number I promised you, the one that changes everything. The statement was issued exactly 22 days after the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes on Iran. 22 days, that is not a random number. That is the approximate duration of a sustained military campaign before political and economic costs begin to outweigh marginal military gains. The IRG is signaling that Iran has absorbed the initial shock, demonstrated its defensive capabilities, and is now prepared to negotiate an end to the conflict on terms that preserve the regime's core interests. Let me now show you why this matters analytically beyond the immediate diplomatic story, because this is where the Professor Jiang analysis adds something that straight news reporting does not. In military strategy, there is a concept called the culminating point. The culminating point is the moment at which a military campaign reaches its maximum effectiveness and begins to decline. Before the culminating point, additional effort produces additional results. After the culminating point, additional effort produces diminishing returns and increasing costs. The IRG statement is a signal that Iran believes the United States has reached or is approaching its culminating point in this conflict, not because Iran has defeated the United States militarily, but because Iran believes the United States has achieved its maximum feasible military objectives and now faces a choice: escalate further at increasing cost, or negotiate an end to the conflict on terms that allow both sides to claim some measure of success. This is not surrender. This is strategy, and it has consequences for how this war ends. Now I want to show you the historical pattern because this has happened before, and the outcome was not always good for the side that failed to recognize the culminating point. In 1968, during the Vietnam War, the North Vietnamese launched the Tet Offensive. Militarily, the offensive was a defeat for North Vietnam, but politically it was a victory because it demonstrated to the American public that the war was not winnable at an acceptable cost. The United States had reached its culminating point. The North Vietnamese recognized it, and they used that recognition to negotiate an end to the conflict on terms that preserved their core interests. In 1991, during the Gulf War, Iraq reached its culminating point after the coalition air campaign. Saddam Hussein recognized that further resistance would produce only additional destruction without changing the outcome. He accepted a ceasefire that preserved his regime, even though it meant accepting significant constraints on Iraq's military capabilities. The pattern is clear. When a regime recognizes that its adversary has reached the culminating point of a military campaign, it can negotiate an end to the conflict on terms that preserve its core interests. The key is recognizing the culminating point at the right moment. Too early, and you concede unnecessarily. Too late, and you lose everything. Now I want to show you what the IRG is actually signaling with this statement, because this is the layer that no news channel is providing. The statement has 3 specific components, each designed for a different audience. The first component is for the Iranian domestic audience. By stating that Iran has demonstrated its capacity to defend its sovereignty, the IRG is reassuring the Iranian public that the regime has not been defeated. This is important for maintaining domestic stability during a period of economic hardship and military pressure. The second component is for the American audience. By stating that the choice to escalate or de-escalate now rests with Washington, the IRG is offering the United States a face-saving off-ramp. This is important for creating the conditions for a negotiated settlement that both sides can accept. The third component is for the international audience. By framing the conflict as a choice between escalation and de-escalation, the IRG is positioning Iran as a responsible actor seeking to avoid further bloodshed. This is important for building diplomatic support for a negotiated settlement in multilateral forums. Each of these components is rational from Iran's perspective, but collectively they signal a strategic shift that was not present at the beginning of this conflict, and that shift has consequences for how the conflict ends. Let me now give you the 3 specific signals to watch in the next 72 hours that will tell you whether the IRG statement is a genuine strategic shift or a tactical feint. The first signal is any change in Iran's military posture. If Iran reduces its missile launches, drone attacks, or proxy operations, it means the statement is a genuine offer to de-escalate. If Iran continues or increases its military operations, it means the statement is a tactical feint designed to create diplomatic space for further military action. The second signal is any response from the United States government. If the White House or State Department acknowledges the IRG statement positively or indicates openness to diplomatic engagement, it means the United States is prepared to explore a negotiated settlement. If the United States dismisses the statement or reiterates its military objectives, it means the United States is not yet prepared to de-escalate. The third signal is any statement from Iran's supreme leader or other senior political figures. If the supreme leader endorses the IRG statement or uses similar language in his own communications, it means the statement reflects a consensus within the Iranian leadership. If the supreme leader remains silent or uses different language, it means the statement reflects a factional position within the Iranian leadership that may not be sustainable. Before I close, I want to come back to something that connects this analytical work to your personal life. I do this work every day because I believe people deserve analysis that goes deeper than the headline, that reads the letter inside the envelope rather than just describing the envelope itself. Doing that work at this level every day at age 63 requires a body and a mind that can sustain the pace. Advanced amino formula has been a genuine part of how I maintain that capacity. After 40, your body stops absorbing protein the way it did when you were younger. It converts much of it to sugar instead of using it to maintain and rebuild muscle. The result is the gradual energy decline and mental fog that most people over 40 accept. As normal aging, it is not normal aging. It is a nutritional gap. Specifically, the 8 essential amino acids your body needs but can no longer extract efficiently from the food and protein supplements you give it. Advanced Amino delivers all 8 in the ratio your cells can actually use with almost zero waste. That is why it hits differently from protein shakes and other supplements I tried before. The link is in the pinned comment and in the description below. They offer a full 90-day money-back guarantee if you do not feel different. In 2 weeks, return it. Zero risk. But I am telling you from my own experience at 63, covering these stories at full intensity every day. When your body has what it actually needs, everything else becomes easier. Iran just said America will determine when this war ends, not a threat, not a boast, a statement of fact, a recalculation, a signal that Iran believes the United States has reached or is approaching its culminating point in this conflict. The morning shows will cover this as a diplomatic footnote below missile counts and oil prices. They will not show you the strategic concept of the culminating point. They will not show you the 3 components of the IRG statement. They will not show you what this signal means for how this war ends. Now you have all of it. Subscribe right now if this gave you the analytical depth that the news cycle is not providing. Drop a comment below with yes or no. Do you believe the IRG statement represents a genuine strategic shift or a tactical feint? I read every single comment. I will see you tomorrow.